Hi guys, how are you? Welcome back to my garden and welcome back to another planting video. So today I want to continue with my mission on bringing more autumnal beauty into my garden. And speaking of autumnal beauty, I just quickly wanted to give you a quick look at the situation in my back here, just next to the garden shed. Isn't that pretty? The hydrangea paniculata, you can see how they fade away really gracefully. Some of these blooms, they're still like in a white jade green stage, but then some of them are blush and just gently fade out. And I think it's a wonderful color combination with these asters and then with the sumac tree in the back there. Isn't that just like a wonderful color? Amber perfection, glowing in the sun. Is gorgeous weather today. There is no wind, the sun is out, it's perfect to do some planting. And this is what I want to do. I want to take you with me to the back of the garden, onto the slope, which is an area that I've been constantly working on, and it's like progressing and developing and evolving. I really love it there. And I was a little bit busy there already. So what I want to do first is just tour you around and show you what I did in the past couple of days. And then I want to show you the plant that I want to put in the ground today. It is just one, but it is one that was on my list already for quite a while because I find them quite intriguing. And I always struggle like where to put it, but now with a slope, it opens like complete new area to the garden and also new opportunities. So finally I'm like, yes, I know where I can put it. So I'm really excited to show you what I did, to show you what I want to plant, and I hope that you're excited to join me in my garden today. We're standing at the slope right now, and if I swing around a little bit, you get to see things are still looking really nice. The dahlias are fantastic, Bistorta is blooming, and if I swing around and continue, you might see the difference, especially if you keep on following my channel. Yes, there is a black fence section now that I prepared, and it goes all the way along here. I'm so happy with that, and I really love the contrast of having this black stained wood in combination with a little basket weave fence that I do there, and how the petunias are kind of like growing through the fence, and the planting still looks so fantastic, like the cannas with their amazing foliage structure that they bring. The dahlias are still in bloom here as well, and then asters, tiny snapdragons in a pinkish, kind of reddish pinkish tone. And I think black just works really nice in the garden because it is a beautiful backdrop for any color. For example, here's still one white phlox in bloom. Sun is out, so I need to hurry up a little bit. Now we are in the morning. The Bistorta, look at this, how this beautiful red and the foliage really pops in front of the black. So I couldn't be happier with that. The one thing I still need to do, oh, there you see already the pot with the thing that I want to plant. So I'm going to show you in a second what that is. But before that happens, I quickly want to show you how it looks from the top, because looking at it from this angle, I'm like, oh, that looks fantastic. But if I walk up with you now, you see, oh, there is a little bit of a gap in between here. And the problem is I wanted to have the fence as straight as possible. It is almost straight. Well, I'm not a pro with that, but towards the end, there is hardly like a distance between like the old support system that I built, like with the black landscape fabric and the fencing. So I want to put like a wooden board on top of it. But at one point, if I just swing around a little bit, oh, you get to see the asters and the snapdragons. I just give you a closer look. Pretty, aren't they? Oh, snapdragons are so beautiful because they will keep on flowering up until Christmas probably this year again, which always makes me very happy. But here you see there is quite a big distance. So what I want to do is I think I might come in with another support system, like here with a black landscape fabric, really close to the fence, fill it up with some soil, which gives me the opportunity to have a little more planting here, and then maybe just have the wooden board just a little slimmer sitting on top of it just to cover up all of this, because at the back you can tell that I was lazy and I did not stain the wood from the back. I only stained it from the front because I'm anyways not gonna see it. But it'd be so beautiful to just have a little more planting room here, because then I can put some more nepeta there and it would be just beautiful. But what I want to plant today goes here, and it is a climber. It's a very special plant. I already prepared the soil a little bit, but in a moment I show you what else I'm going to do. So it comes with a label, which is always great, because then I can show you exactly what I'm planting. It is an hydrangea. It's a complicated name, but you can take a screenshot now. I think it's called schizophragma, I hope. Roseum is a variety, and roseum obviously is a good indicator for the color of the blooms. The blooms are not like these like big ball shapes or like paniculata types. They're kind of like a little more delicate. And then they have these almost like little, yeah, second leaves almost, but I think they have a really wonderful coloring, just like greenish whitish with a touch of pink. So I'm very excited about them. They have green foliage throughout the summertime, and when autumn comes, and now comes a wonderful thing, can you see this? It changes color, beautiful crimson burgundy tones. So happy with it, especially when you imagine this climbing at this black backdrop. I think that this is going to be a really nice color contrast. The wonderful thing about these is, and I'll try to find a good example, it has, well, where does it have it? Here you can see maybe a little bit. Can you see these tiny little things at the back of the stem here? So one side of the stem has these kind of roots, and they attach to the back wall. So I don't really need to have a support system. It should just do its own thing, so I'm going to have an eye on it. If it doesn't work straight away, I might just come in with a little bit of a support system, just like with a little string or something. But in general, I think this is going to be a wonderful addition here. What I will do now, though, is I want to go up and show you what else comes into the planting hole here, because hydrangeas, they like to thrive in a specific kind of soil, and I just have the right magic weapon waiting. Hydrangeas in general, the word hydrangea hydro is always quite a good indicator for what hydrangeas like. They like to sit somewhere with a good moisture level. They don't like to dry out. They don't like to sit somewhere in a very condensed soil so that the roots do not have the opportunity to like spread out. So it's always quite vital that hydrangeas have a nice, good and lofty soil which is rich and which can hold the moisture extremely well. Here I have quite sandy soil, and because I was walking quite a lot on this side of the slope here, the soil is almost like concrete. So I came in already yesterday, prepared a little bit, but I have another magic weapon, because what else do hydrangeas like? They like to thrive in a slightly acidic soil. And if you remember last year, pretty much around this time of the year, I did a video just dedicated to making a leaf compost. And I just tipped the entire compost over pretty much from one compost heap to another one to an empty space, and it looks really good. Within 1 year, just mixing the 1 year old and then the new leaves from last year, everything broke down. It looks fantastic, and leaf compost is slightly acidic, so it is perfect for these hydrangeas here. So what I'm going to do is I quickly take you up there, show you how it looks, and then I can enrich the planting hole here a little bit and just give some extra goodness to the hydrangea. I want to give you some information about the plant, and then we plant it, and I'll be very happy. I'm super excited about this. Here in the back of a garden, there is a compost heap, so it's kind of like the walk in between asters. Aren't they fantastic? These are one of my favorite. Oh, beautiful color. They're very tall, love them. But here on the right, there is a compost heap. So this is where I always put all of my leaves. So already a lot of the walnut leaves are in here, only from this year. And then on the left, this is everything from last year, and it looks fantastic. It's perfect, it's lofty, it's dark. Yes, there's still some tiny branches and sticks in there, but that does no harm. So in general, I could definitely come in here, take some good fresh compost and enrich the planting hole, because it'll be so good for those hydrangeas. Isn't this nice black fence looking so cool? I really love it. I'm so happy with that, and I think that this is really what I'm going to do along the entire slope, obviously bit by bit, because I've got quite some meters or yards, wherever you're from, that I still need to cover. So I'm just working my way through bit by bit. But before that happens, I want to give you some quick information about this beautiful hydrangea. So whenever I present a plant to you, I try to make it quick, but I always have a certain kind of like rhythm on how I do it. So always start talking first about like flower, then leaf, then about location, where it likes to thrive, the soil condition that it requires, and eventually pruning if it's kind of like relevant at all. So these are the things that I always find quite interesting. Is there anything else that you might miss for information, or is there anything that you like to look at when you buy a plant? So just comment down below my video. I'm always open for suggestions as usual. So speaking of flower, you could already see on the label that these kind of hydrangeas, they do not produce these kind of like big, like cut flower blooms that you would normally get from your paniculata types or your macrophylla types. So it is completely different, but I think it has a different beauty and a different value to it, because it produces a lot of bloom. So you really have this delicate carpet, and I think as a backdrop here, it will be really beautiful. The foliage, it is green in summer, and it is a quite nice dark, kind of like rich, lush green, which I think also works extremely well with the back as a backdrop here. And then you can tell in autumn it changes the foliage color to a beautiful crimson and burgundy red. And this is also a reason why I chose this variety here, because there are a lot of different climbing hydrangeas. There's also one that had a leaf variegation, which was really beautiful, kind of like white and green, and it changes color in autumn to like a golden-ish kind of tone, but I prefer this one. I just love red, and I think it just speaks so much autumn to me. And also seeing all the colors that I have here, I think for me it works a lot better here. In terms of location, these hydrangeas, they will thrive in sun if they have an ample amount of water, so they really do not like to dry out. But they also thrive extremely well in partly shade and even in shade. So this is quite good. And the reason, by the way, on why they do thrive so well in shade is where they come from. So these kind of hydrangeas, they originate from woodlands in Japan and Korea. And this is why they can cope extremely well with areas where they don't get so much sun. So here you can see we are still in the morning, by the way. I hardly ever make morning videos, but the weather is so beautiful that I thought, okay, now or never. Now is the perfect time to do a video. So here we are in the morning now. There is zero sun here, and then at lunchtime the sun comes, and then they get all the beautiful evening sun. And in summer they get even more sun. So I really need to make sure that the soil is good. We already spoke about this soil. So make sure that the soil is not compact, and I just have a good example for what I was dealing with here. So I was always walking on the soil here, and we are on the dike, which means that the soil that the dike is built out is actually what came from the canal that is just next to it. So the river is in theory like a canal actually. So the soil is like funny on the dike. There are patches when you're digging, oh, it's nice and it has a great texture. And then suddenly you have patches where you're like, I'm digging on the beach here right now and it's just sandy. And here on the dike, I'm kind of just dumped a lot of different soil that came from the garden. And I was walking a lot on this area. So it's really compact here, even though it is kind of like grayish, yellowish. So there is a lot of sand in here. But just the first 10 centimeters are like this, a chunk of concrete, literally. So this is no good. This is not what hydrangeas like to thrive in and root in at all. So already came in with a lot of nice fresh garden soil. It's lofty, it's crumbly, you can see it. It has a walnut in there that came from the leaf compost. I still got more of my leaf compost. So that also has, I'm going to show it to you, like a nice texture. It's crumbly. There's still couple of small stems in there from the leaves, but in general it is quite nice. So what I do is I come in with quite a good amount of it. I already dug some of it under here. That is, yeah, that is good. And then I also come in with a little bit of a starting fertilizer. I always use the same. I always use organic bone chips just because they break down so well. So the rule of thumb is if you plant something, you should have a planting hole that is pretty much triple the size of your container. But since the soil here was so condensed and not good, I obviously came in and made a lot bigger planting hole. Oh, there is a little maggot in here. That came from the compost. So there it goes. Bon appetit to some birds maybe. So what I do is I dig it under and also mix it a little bit with some of the well-drained sandy soil here. So after this like 10 centimeters of having the concrete chunk, there is literally sand, and that is really lofty again. So it's like powdery almost. It's just like that area where I was walking on a lot, which you might even hear it. Not lofty. Let's just put it that way. So mix it under, it looks really nice now. So all I'm going to do is find the location on where I want to plant it. So, and the nice thing is if you do it like this and if you exchange your soil, the planting, like doing the planting hole is so easy now because everything is lofty, you can work with your hands. It's wonderful. So some more organic bone chips straight into the planting hole and then just squeeze it and gently tap it over. Okay, that looks good. And you can see again, it is a good root system because it's not pot bound. So pot bound always means when the roots are growing round and round. This is not the case. And here you have roots. They hold the shape of the container pretty well. Also at the base, I'm not going to break anything apart now because it looks really good. And sometimes like coming in and disturbing the roots is also not a good thing. So what I do now, backfill a little bit and close. It's kind of like, they always suggest to plant it kind of like 10 to 20 centimeters apart from the wall. So don't like squeeze it exactly to the wall. The reason for it is also moisture level and rain, because when it rains, depending on where the rain comes from, very close to a wall like this or to a fence section like this, it's dry because the rain just doesn't really come there. So always try and make sure that you plant it a little bit further apart, because then it still gets the rain and then it still stays nice and moist. That is a reason for it. As simple as that. And now firm it in. I always do it like with my fist and just go all the way around it. Plant it dead level, exactly how it was in the container. This looks so beautiful. What I do now is it came with this little cane as a trainer, and I'm going to use the cane again now. Well, there is also a metal wire in there, so probably I should just keep it as it is. And now I'm just going to guide it exactly to where I want it to grow. So I hope that this plant will find its way now and knows where it is supposed to grow. What I'm going to do on top of it is I will use a little bit of my leaf compost and just distribute it as another layer of mulch on top of it, because it is going to break down over time more and just do more goodness to this entire area here. And then I still have like my normal mulch, like the wood chips that I always use, because I'm just so successful with them. They keep the moisture in very nicely, very well. So this is what I'm going to do, mulch it in thoroughly now, and then I'm going to enjoy it. And I hope that it is going to grow very well here. One last word about cutting is that you can cut them back, and you can even cut them back hard if you have old plants, so that does no harm to them because they can grow to quite a size. This can grow up to 6 meters in height. So just if you're thinking about growing it at your house wall, keep that one in mind. Here, I mean, 6 meters is definitely not going to happen. I just want to have like a nice structure here growing along the fence and then just enjoy it. So I will definitely prune it. And the right time to prune it is between February and March, depending on your climate zone. I'm in a zone 7B here at the south coast of the Baltic Sea, which means that I do prune generally more towards March time. Like shrubs like this also sometimes in February, because I have itchy fingers and I just want to do something. So this is what I'm going to do, put all of the mulch back, and then I give you one last look at this, because I think this entire area here really keeps on developing and I really enjoy it year by year more. It doesn't look like a lot yet, but these hydrangeas are quite vigorous, and I think in a year from now I can definitely give you a nice update too on how this plant is performing and how it's going to grow along this beautiful fence section here. What you can do as well though is when you want to cut it back in February, March time, you can come in and strip back some of these like leading stems, because what they do is they will produce side branches and then they are even more vigorous. And you can even use these branches that you cut to propagate them, because if you put them in a pot with fresh garden compost, they're supposed to root in fairly well. I really love it here because I think it works so nice with the Bistorta, so the red cherry red Bistorta in combination with the crimson red foliage. Now obviously also nice with the snapdragons here. This is mini cherry cola, something like this from Thompson & Morgan. One of my favorite snapdragons, and they've been flowering for ages. The foliage is nice, but you never know what I'm going to do next year. Maybe next year I'm going to put some other annuals here just to change things up a little bit. One surprising thing that I just discovered is this is my one delphinium, my only delphinium in the entire garden that is never tackled by slugs or snails. And can you see what's going on here? It produced a flower spike. It didn't flower in September for a second time, and I thought, okay, it's not going to do it this year eventually. And now it flowers. Isn't that a little bit too late now in October? But you know what? I'm excited. If it does its thing, it's going to be a beautiful color, because it's like a steely lavender, and that works so well with all the other colors here. So yeah, very happy with this, and I hope that you are intrigued about this beautiful specimen as well. That's it for today's video. Another want to have plant from my list is scratched out now, so I'm really excited about that. I'm also really excited to give you all the updates about this hydrangea, how it's going to look throughout the entire year, how it's going to look when it comes to bloom, how the flowers are looking, how vigorous it is, and then obviously how it looks in a year from now. So 2 more exciting planting videos are on the way, because I still have 2 more really beautiful things that I want to put in the ground. So all I can say now is thank you so much for watching today's video. Thank you so much if you give me a thumbs up for the video. Thank you if you subscribe to my channel. Also, if you leave me a comment, I love to read them. I try to reply to all of them as fast as possible. And as always, I give you the link to my Instagram down below here as well. So take care, guys, and I'd really love to welcome you next time around in my garden again. See ya. Bye.